family sharing about, Bronny's health incident, I think really struck a nerve with me, just being like a new dad. And this is like LeBron James, the dad, that's like very concerned about his son. He's thanking the USC staff. I just thought that was just really cool of them to be open and share that, because, there's parents all over the world that can relate with different situations like that.
Yeah, that was something that you have to be so delicate with, right? Because it had just happened and he had just come back mid-season. And to be able to be a part of that and witness how a dad, not even just a basketball player, but how a dad needs to be there for his kid and wants to be there for his kid, that he'll move to the end of the earth to make that happen. He is that guy. He really is that guy. And when we were in the biggest example is we're in the middle of the first in-season tournament in Vegas. They win it. The game ends at like midnight and you're just getting everything ready and together. And he literally takes a flight home at, I'm sure, like 1-2 o'clock in the morning. And we flew home that night as well, or that morning, to be there for Bronny's debut at USC. And that was very early in the morning. It was basically like 24 hours of no sleep for him. And so for us too. But it was so motivating to do that and be a part of that and see that. He was like, I can't miss this for anything. And it just, he sacrifices so much, I think, for his kids. And to be able to be a part of that and see that was just incredible.
That really is. Now let's back up a little bit. How did you get here? You said you spent 15 years at ESPN. We have a little bit of, similar journeys where we kind of started on the broadcast production side and have crossed over into, the more filmmaking, documentary style of work. How did this whole journey start for you?
A very different path from when I started. I was hired right out of college and I had road experience working with EBS. Basketball junkie from day one. I was doing Suns and Lakers playoff games in the truck in 2007.
And for those of you who don't know EVS, they're the replay operators in the truck who back up and rewind replays for you to watch on TV. Just so.
Yeah, not a lot of women do that. And you have to be a legit crazy person to do it. High stress. Everyone's yelling, take this angle. There's, anywhere from however many, 6 to 12 inputs of cameras at a game, depending on the level of that game. And there's literally one person there just getting every single slow motion replay feedback. So when you're at home yelling at the TV, being like, where's my replay? That's one person. And I love that. I love the pressure. I loved all of that. And when I got hired at ESPN, I actually got moved into a studio role. And so I was in the control rooms kind of doing that, but with, if there's a home run in the middle of Sports Center on midnight, I was doing that replay. And from there, I was like, I really miss editing, would love to do that. So I kind of moved over into a highlights role and then realized that I really missed storytelling as a whole and it interests me so much. So then I moved over into their post-production group where I was an avid editor. And that's where I was able to work on, E60s, Sports Center Featured, things for NBA Countdown, for Game Day, for every show that's on ESPN that has a feature that's anywhere from a minute and a half to 20 minutes. Like that's what I would work on as an editor. And then I was given the opportunity to move over as the first editor to become a feature producer at ESPN. And that was slightly terrifying, but in a great way, because I hadn't done that on my own ever. And I was a good sell there where I was editing my own stuff, graphics, Pro Tools, all on my little laptop. So I was able to move into that role and really dig in and learn from a lot of great mentors at ESPN, scripting and storytelling, and really how to give a good comprehensive interview in a short period of time. Being able to learn all of the short interview and get as much as I can in that period of time really prepared me for where I am today, where I'm now, given more extensive periods of time, but I know that these people are so busy and they have only a small amount of time for us. So trying to get as much information from somebody as possible in a respectful way, that's what I was able to really learn at ESPN in that crazy, quick turnaround, nuts time of features. And, I had 24-hour turnarounds over there for And that's a very different world than documentary filmmaking. But being able to have that tool, I think, has helped me in being able to just jump up and go shoot now at the drop of a hat and really get content that we need, because I'm used to being able to turn that around. But it was a bit of an unorthodox journey to where I am now. But I think now being able to have worked in absolutely every facet, I was booking travel, pre-prod, I'm writing scripts, writing questions, performing the interviews, and then, writing the script after, doing the edit, cleaning it up, sending it out, and literally being the person that would hit play on air. I've done every job in filmmaking, and now shooting, which was not in my repertoire up until
Oh, shooting with LeBron James too, to learn.
Talk about pressure, right? It was, I'd shot in the past here and there, was always a B cam, never an A cam. And, I just remember having my first real shoot with him as a solo person was All-Star. And I was flying with him from LA to Indianapolis, and it was me on the jet and just capturing interview, everything from start to finish, from one location to the next until he actually goes, straight to the game. And it was, a little bit of pressure there, because before that I had people with me on crew and audio, things like that. So I was more of a B cam. And that was the first time I was really truly the A cam. And honestly, from there on out, I became the A cam, because he was so comfortable without the crew. It just was a new world, I think, for him too, maybe, where, I would get a call and I would be in Denver and I'd be able to go film between playoff games. He's playing poker with the guys, and I can just be there and film very quietly and capture the moment without having this gigantic crew, which it's different to be able to say that you've shot most of your stuff that's on the air with LeBron. And that was very cool to see. And I have very much learned a lot from doing that myself and elevated that throughout the year. So by the end of the year, I really was in my groove with it. And now I'm really picked up and really understand. I wouldn't call myself a DP, like documentarian, single person shooter for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. And I would say, let's talk a little bit about that pressure, right? I mean, I've experienced it doing it with Russ for the first few times. There's really no practice you can do for that situation. I guess, what advice do you have for people kind of coming up of working with as athletes? Because as you mentioned, often the time is very compressed. We can't be having technical issues going on afterwards. I guess, what advice do you have for those who are looking to work with high-end athletes like that?
Just be yourself, right? Because I think I tend to be very self-deprecating. If I'm having an issue or my camera's not working, don't be afraid to say, hey man, just give me 2 seconds. I just have to make sure this is perfect, right? And prep as much as you can, because nothing will ever go as planned in the field. I don't think I've ever had a shoot in the years I've been doing this go off exactly how I planned it. And that's okay. You just have to make sure you're playing jazz, right? And that's the biggest thing I learned, because when you're an editor, you're a perfectionist, and even if you don't have all the time in the world, you can sit and tweak and do it at your own pace. When you are documenting a athlete that is especially a high caliber athlete, when you are documenting them, you have to be on your toes and you have to be ready. And don't worry about, I shot too much, or I kept rolling, or maybe I didn't ask the right question, because you may have another chance to do it. But in the moment, just always be focused, be ready, and then just pivot. That is the biggest thing I can say. Just pivot when you need to. But the biggest thing I learned is listen. Honestly, that's just listen, because there's so many times you're doing interviews with these guys and you have your question list, right? You're ready to go. You may have 30 minutes with, LeBron or somebody. You have 30 minutes to get through an interview. And if you're not listening to them, they may have just given you potential into this opening to learn about them, or they're ready to talk about it, but no one's really asked them about it. If you're just jumping to the next question, you'll have that chance is missed. It's gone. And even if it doesn't go fully by plan, you may have more that comes out of that by listening. And I feel like I've been able to capture the best stuff from guys when I'm listening to them, and then all of a sudden they give me something else, and then I pivot, and that's great. It's just you never know what you're going to get from a guy, so it's just, or a girl in general. Yeah, long story short, just listen and pivot and play jazz, because that's how you're going to get the best stuff.